Tale of a Tyrant. Her book Mohini the Enchantress was the winner of the JK Papers and Times of India Popular Choice Author Award for the year 2021. Her books are also available as audiobooks and have been translated into Hindi. Abhimanyu, son of Arjuna, has been shortlisted for the Attagalata Bangalore Literature Festival Book Prize. Girl Talk is her latest book. An accomplished TEDx speaker and storyteller, Anuja regularly conducts workshops on creative writing, mythology, and empowerment in schools and colleges across the country. Her Mahabharata and Ramayana with Anuja storytelling series is now available on YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn Alexa, Apple Podcasts. She is a trained Bharatanatyam dancer also. This mother of two little girls lives in Sivagasi. Now I invite Anuja ma'am to take over the session. Thank you.
நிறைய விஷயங்கள் சொன்னாங்க அவங்கள பற்றி. But one thing you need to understand is that we have been meeting a lot of success stories, women success stories, right? Nikalல இருந்து we have been meeting Usha Mani ma'am, then we met this young girl who is bringing out a comic book version of Tirukkural, and அதே லைன்ல we are just continuing with another success story, that is ma'am who is just here. பிறந்தது சிவகாசி, படித்தது சென்னை, இப்போ வாழ்ந்துகிட்டு இருக்கிறது ஆல் ஓவர் த வேர்ல்ட் அப்படின்னு தான் சொல்லணும். பிகாஸ் ஹர் புக்ஸ் ஹாவ் பீன் சர்க்குலேட்டட் வைட்லி ஆல் ஓவர் இந்தியா. விக்கிபீடியா பாருங்க, சம்டைம்ஸ் விக்கிபீடியா ஹெல்ப்ஸ், வித் டியூ அப்பாலஜிஸ் டு helps. So please go home, check into her Wikipedia page and find out what an excellent writer she is. As was already mentioned, I wouldn't say she's just a writer, she is a creator. That is why she's also into dance. Arangetramla mudichitaanga, and I'm sure she's busy with her performances also elsewhere. Let's start by asking her a very is asked to most writers. Ma'am, where do you get your ideas from?
Sir, tough question ஆரம்பிச்சுட்டாரு. But first of all, hi to all of you. So lovely to be here in ERODE. என் பெஸ்ட் ஃப்ரெண்ட் வந்து ஈரோடில் தான் இருக்காங்க. ஸோ lovely opportunity for me to come. சார் கேட்டிருக்காரு எங்கே இந்த ஐடியாஸ், where do I get my ideas from? And there's no simple answer. நான் வந்து first and foremost, I see myself as a storyteller. ஏன்னா சின்ன வயசுலேருந்து அதுதான் எனக்கு அடையாளம் மாதிரி. when I was 2 years old, எங்கள் மாமே வந்து she told me the story of baby Krishna. அது அந்த ஸ்டோரியில் நிறைய வயலன்ஸ்லாம் இருக்கும், which is why I liked it even as a 2-year-old. I knew that story by heart. And my grandmother will make me sit on the table. வீட்டுக்கு யார் வந்தாலும் கிருஷ்ணா ஸ்டோரி சொல்லு அப்படி சொல்லுவாங்க. நான் அப்படியே பை ஹார்ட்டாக அவங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி I'll say, அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கைத்தட்டு, that applause, no, that was what gave me my sense of identity as a storyteller. So from the age of 2, even younger than that, anything, any conversation you have with me, anything I observe, anything I eat, anything I read, it all goes into one vault in my head. ஸோ என்கிட்ட பேசுகிறது கொஞ்சம் ரிஸ்க் தான். gossip and all, lots of people love sharing with me because I will listen patiently, I won't judge, but I store all that information in the vault because I never know which idea is going to germinate and take shape. It's the miracle of life and I love it. I love not knowing. என் நேரத்தில் பல்ப் எரியும்னு எனக்கே தெரியாது, but it happens organically. ஏன்னா நான் ஒரு பேஷனட் கமிட்மெண்ட் இது. ஒரு புக்கோ எதில் இறங்கினாலும் நான் அறகுறையாக இறங்க மாட்டேன் அந்த கமிட்மெண்ட்டோட. ஸோ எது என்னைய ஸ்ட்ரைக் ஆகும்னு எனக்கே தெரியல. ஸோ எனிதிங் ஐ ஒப்சர்வ் randomly, some conversation we had over lunch today, someday it will end up in a story or a book of mine.
All those people who had a conversation with her during lunchtime, be careful. You might find yourselves as villains in a story. Probably.
I love villains, so.
That's so nice. You know, she published her first book in 2013. 2013, her first book was published, and now it's 2025. So in 12 odd years, how many books have you published, ma'am?
14.
14 books in 12 odd years. You're writing so voluminously. Tell us about your first experience, your first book.
ஸோ அது வந்து எப்படின்னா மை ஒரிஜினல் ambition வந்து வாஸ் டு பிகம் மாதுரி டிக்ஷித். ஐம் கார்பன் டேட்டிங் மை செல்ஃப். பட் அப்போ ஏக் தோ தீன் வந்து பெரிய ஹிட் சாங், நீங்கள் ரீமிக்ஸ் கேட்டிருக்கலாம். ஸோ பிக் ஹிட். ஸோ அதுவும் நான் டேபிள் மேலே ஏறி ஆடுவேன், எல்லாம் கை தட்டுவாங்க. ஸோ ஒரிஜினல் ambition was to become Madhuri Dixit. And then ambitions keep changing, you know. I decided at one point I'll be an air hostess, this, that. I had lots of plans. But in college, the idea, I'd settled on writing in some format. So my idea was to become a foreign correspondent, go to all the hot spots in the world, meet all kinds of interesting people, and then I thought I'll retire and put all my experiences in a tell-all book. That was the grand plan. இந்த மாதிரி பயங்கர ambition வீட்டில் சொன்னால், கன்சர்வேட்டிவ் ஃபேமிலி, ஓல்ட் ஃபேஷன் ஃபேமிலி, 20ல் டக்குன்னு கல்யாணம் ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. அதுவும் செகண்ட் செமஸ்டர் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன் சென்னையில். மை மேரேஜ் வாஸ் ஃபிக்ஸ்ட். ஸோ ஐ தாட் ஓகே, அம்மா சொன்னாங்க ரிக்ரெட்டோடலாம் இருக்காது, ப்ராக்டிக்கலாக இருன்னு. ஸோ அது ஏதோ மண்டேல ஏறிடுச்சு. ஸோ ஐ தாட் ஓகே, ஐ ஒன்ட் பி ஏபிள் டு see the world and write about it, but maybe if I write, no excuses, எங்கே இருந்தாலும் you can write. So I thought okay, maybe if I start somewhere, I'll open a few doors for myself, maybe I'll get to travel and see the world. So that was that idea. அந்த ஐடியா மணி அங்கே தான் எனக்கு கொஞ்சம் பல் பெரிஞ்சுது. அண்ட் எப்பயுமே சொல்லுவாங்க, when it comes to writing, you asked where the ideas come, how did it start. People tell you to write about things that you love, that you care about deeply. And for me the answer was very simple. எனக்கு சின்ன வயசுலேருந்து my favorite is Arjuna from the Mahabharata. Love of my life. நான் சொன்னேன், என் ambition நிறையா மாறும், என் ஃபேவரட் ஹீரோஸ் மாறிக்கிட்டே இருப்பாங்க. பட் Arjuna is that constant in my life. I loved him. The first time I opened one Amar Chitra Katha comic and I got introduced to him, when I heard about him itself, I loved him. And I still love him. I will love him forever and ever and ever. So his had to be the first story I told. I had no other plans. I didn't know mythology was hot at that time in India. But I knew, okay, love of my life, my first story will be Arjuna. And it was கொஞ்சம் rough தான். அப்போ சிவகாசி I was trying to make it as a freelance writer. I didn't get too many opportunities, but I was doing the best I could. And then I thought, okay, let me write the great Indian novel. Appa, I was pregnant with my second daughter. Moothava was less than 2 at the time. Amma சொன்னாங்க, எப்பயுமே இப்படி தான், அளவுக்கு மீறி எடுத்து தட்டில் வச்சிருவா அப்படின்னு my mom said. But I said, let's see, நான் பார்த்துக்கலாம். It was a பயங்கர balancing act. அண்ட் ரொம்ப நான் ஹார்ட் ஒர்க் பண்ணேன் அப்படிலாம் கிடையாது. எனக்கு மதர்ஹுட்டோட ரொம்ப when I'm very very frustrated with motherhood, writing was a nice diversion. When the pressures of writing got to be too much, motherhood was a lovely diversion. So I got the best of two worlds and it was a beautiful experience. Thank you.
See, Tamil Nadu is divided into Vijay fans and Ajit fans. Kerala, it is Mammootty and Mohanlal. In the world of Mahabharata, it is Arjuna or Karna. I happen to be a Karna fan.
Rejected.
How have you portrayed Karna?
Okay, in the fan wars-la நான் யூஷுவலாக இறங்க மாட்டேன். ஏன்னா ரஜினிகாந்த் கமல்ஹாசன் ஆல்சோ we can keep on going. யூஷுவலாக நான் இறங்க மாட்டேன். பட் மகாபாரதா கண்டிப்பாக நான் இறங்குவேன். ஏன்னா டீம் அர்ஜுனா ஆல்வேஸ். பட் ஆஸ் அ ஸ்டோரி டெல்லர் ஐ ட்ரை டு பி ஃபேர். I try to be balanced. So Karna, there's no shame in admitting that Karna was a great soul, a truly amazing, inspiring character. But I'm also, I think I mentioned I care deeply about the Mahabharata. So, you know, my opinions will be very strong. I cannot forgive Karna for a couple of things which he did. One, during the infamous Sudatam and the gambling, the dice game, in that, I think Karna is not the exception here. Men don't like it when women say no. Women don't like being rejected either. Nobody likes it. Draupadi at her Swayamvara, she rejected Karna. She not only rejected him, she insulted him. And I understand that he had a grudge against her, but in that gambling match, he had his revenge. It was his words. He told, "She is our slave now. Even the clothes on her back belong to us. Let's disrobe her." That was Karna's words. And what he did to a woman that day, unforgivable. See, even if she says no, this kind of punishment is too much. Okay, we'll let that move on to the next thing I can't forgive him for. So Karna knew, deep down he knew that ultimately it will be a clash between him and Arjuna, and he knew that he'll lose. He was a clever man, he knew. But I love that he was brave, that he wasn't afraid of death. But again, there was that little resentment in his heart because he felt Arjuna had certain advantages which Karna himself didn't have. So when he got the chance to hurt Arjuna, he took it. And that was to be responsible for the death of Abhimanyu. A 16-year-old, Karna's nephew. Karna knew this. Nobody else knew on the Pandava side. And he broke Abhimanyu's bow from behind. So when there's lots you can take from Karna to inspire you, but these two things are cautionary tales about how not to live your life. Because, it's unacceptable. Hurting a woman, hurting a child, because that's what Abhimanyu was. I don't care whether you got abandoned at birth. There are always excuses. All the serial killers, they feel perfectly justified in doing what they do. But it's not okay. Some things are not okay. Also, in Mahabharata, everyone did something which you can condemn. So for me, I take the better, I leave out the bitter as far as it's possible. So Karna, how many of you are on Team Arjuna? Team Karna? Okay, it's pretty evenly divided. Good, that's good. Brothers only anyway.
I think every Mahabharata character has a story which has been presented really well in literature. So if it is Bhima, we have Rendamoolam, M.T. Vasudevan's seminal novel. Karna himself has Mrityunjaya, the Marathi novel. And Draupadi has Chitra Banerjee Devakaruni's story. And I believe yours should be the Arjuna's version.
Yes.
Is there something insightful or maybe different from what we have read about Arjuna, which in your novel you have presented in a very different, in a very singular way?
I love that question. If you ask me to talk about the Mahabharata and Arjuna, I'm always happy. So I'm so glad to be here. And Arjuna is synonymous with arrogance. A lot of people point that as a shortcoming of Arjuna, that he was arrogant. But I told you, people have faults, but let's not reduce them to the sum of their faults. So Arjuna was more than that. One, what I love about Arjuna and which I do in my own life because I was inspired by him is that he wasn't afraid of hard work. He didn't just, he wasn't just born as a brilliant archer. He had that talent, but he worked so hard. All that effort he put in every day of his life, I love about him, that he was so hard working. Another thing I love about him is this bromance he has with Krishna. Now, there's one very sweet story in the Mahabharata, okay? Krishna and Arjuna are reincarnations of Nara and Narayana, which means their friendship transcends lifetimes. So Krishna, as you know, was a ladies' man. Arjuna and Krishna were ladies' men. The women loved them. Two handsome, talented fellows, charismatic, charming. The ladies loved them. Okay, and Krishna, there were so many women who were crazy about him. But Krishna's characteristic is he's very calm. You won't see him get crazy in love, anything like that. But when it came to Arjuna alone, Krishna's equanimity, epeme shantama irukra Krishna, he lost it only when it came to Arjuna's safety. Because Arjuna had taken an oath after the death of Abhimanyu. He said, by sunset, if I do not kill Jayadratha, the man responsible for my son's death, I will enter the flames. For the first time, Krishna, the omniscient Krishna, ellavarku theriyum, but still there was a bit of fear in Krishna. He called his charioteer Daruka. He said, Daruka, Krishna had also taken an oath. I will only be the Saradi, the charioteer. I won't pick up a single weapon. Krishna had taken that oath, but he called his charioteer. He said, pack all my weapons, ready my chariot. Tomorrow, if you hear the Rishabha note on my conch, that's the bull note. If you hear that, bring the chariot. I will destroy the world. If Arjuna is not in this world won't exist. Can you see the passion there? The love, the concern for his friend, the beauty of friendship. Iniki Valentine's Day, eppeme love story, love story, love story. But what about friendship? These two men took friendship even more seriously than love. And that's also a beautiful form of love. I love that about Arjuna. So I explored these gentler sides in his personality. And another very important thing about Arjuna is, nama Indian history paatha, avlo violence. Fathers killing sons, sons killing fathers, imprisoning them, murdering relatives. Or throne, a crown ke ivlo violence. Arjuna was the strongest, the best of them all. But he never coveted the throne. He was happy to serve. He was happy to do his duty. In fact, he said, before the battle, he said, just enak or picha patram kudutrunga. I'll beg. I don't want this kingdom. That is the greatness of Arjuna. That is what makes Arjuna the special man who has my heart, now and forever.
Speaking of violence, your novels have been described as being very graphically violent. Why is that?
Mythology at its heart, I think what mythology and stories try to do is they are trying to give us life lessons. Now, if I were to give you a lecture, all of you had lunch, no? All of you will be asleep in 5 minutes. But stories make morals palatable. Okay, this violence in stories, it is to open your eyes to the realities of a harsh world, and it is to help you. It's like Google Guruji. We rely on him to find our way. It's like a map, you know, just a way to teach you how to get from this point to this point the right way. Damage. Okay, the stories don't glorify violence. I don't glorify violence either. I try to show how in a war like the Mahabharata, there were no winners. We are taught as children to view life in black and white. Winning, losing. I try not to look at it like that. Not success, not failure. Who decides what is what? The stories, if you see, they're very ambiguous. You can read it either way. So violence at the end of the day, it takes a lot out of you. இப்போ ஆங்கர் பரதநாட்டியமில் இட்ஸ் கால் ரௌத்ரா ரசா. எனக்கு அது ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும் ஸ்டேஜில் ஆட. நான் காலியாக அந்த திரிசூலத்தை தூக்கி நின்றேன்னா உடனே ஆடியன்ஸ்லேருந்து கிளாப்ஸ். So you feel empowered. But as you grow up, you realize that misguided anger, it destroys indiscriminately good and bad inside you. So it's not empowering. Anger is the result of your fear, your insecurity. So it's not empowering. It's something that weakens you. Veera, rasa and dance is different from Rautra. And Veera, you have to embrace strength. Any decision you make, it has to come from a place of strength. So that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to glorify violence here.
Children, do you know Kartikeya? Kartikeya? How do we know Kartikeya down south here? Lord Muruga, right? She has written a story about Lord Muruga, but not as Lord Muruga, as Kartikeya. And there is a lot of difference, I should say, in the way we South Indians look at even Vinayaka. For us, Vinayaka is a bachelor god, whereas in the north he is a god. Okay, and Vinayaka is actually married. He has 2 wives. Yeah, Riddhi and Siddhi, right? So you have written a story about Kartikeya, Muruga. So obviously Ganesha is also going to be a very important character. How have you presented these characters? I mean, you are a South Indian. you write a story about a South Indian god, but with the name which is usually used by the North Indians. So I just want to have a look at how you have done that.
So first of all, இது goddesses பற்றி நான் எழுதுகிறப்ப I'll just tell you my attitude overall. சின்ன வயசில் அம்மாவை அயம்மாவை மாமையை கடுப்பாக்க ஆஃப்டர் ரீடிங் ராமாயணாலாம் நான் சொல்லுவேன், அது எப்படி ராமர் அப்படி பண்ணார், அவரை மரியாதை புருஷோத்தமன் we are calling the perfect man, how dare he suspect his wife. உடனே அப்பையும் சரி இப்பையும் சரி லார்ட் ராமாவை குவெஸ்டன் பண்ணால் ஒரு ஆங்கர், ஒரு வயலண்ட் ரியாக்ஷன். வீட்டில் எல்லாம் கேட்பாங்க, நீ யார் அவரை ஜட்ஜ் பண்ணேன்னு they ask. அதுக்கு இந்த didn't stop me. நான் என்னைக்குமே எனக்கு ஒன்று சரின்னு படலையோ அது காடாக இருந்தால் என்ன, டிபேட் பண்ணலாம்ல. நான் காலேஜ்லலாம் டிபேட் டீம் பிரசிடென்ட். ஸோ அதுக்கு நான் அது கொஞ்சம் ஆர்குமெண்ட்ஸேக்கு ஏதாவது கேட்கணும்ல. ஸோ மை ஆட்டிடியூட் டுவர்ட்ஸ் டிவினிட்டி, தெர் இஸ் ரெஸ்பெக்ட். ஏன்னா மேன் ஆஃப் காட், ஐ பிலீவ் ரெஸ்பெக்ட் இஸ் த ஃபவுண்டேஷன் ஆன் விச் யூ இன்ட்ராக்ட் வித் எவ்ரி ஒன். பட் அட் த சேம் டைம் நான் பிளைண்டாக எதுவுமே ஐ ஒன்ட் ஃபாலோ. ஸோ ராமா, தீஸ் காட்ஸ் ஐ ட்ரீட் தெம் வித் ஒரு ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஷிப் மாதிரி. ஒரு க்ளோஸ் ஃப்ரெண்ட்டை நம்ம க்ளோஸாக வென் ஹவு டு யூ பிகம் க்ளோஸ், நிறையா பேசுவோம், ஒரு சென்சார் இல்லாமல் தானே ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ்கிட்ட பேசுவோம் கம்ஃபர்டபுளாக. ஸோ தட் வாஸ் மை அப்ரோச் டு டிவினிட்டி. அண்ட் கார்த்திகேயா எப்படின்னா, நம்ம பப்ளிஷிங் ஹவுசஸ் எல்லாமே டெல்லி பேஸ்ட், ஹிஸ்ட்ரியாக இருக்கட்டும் மித்தாலஜியாக இருக்கட்டும் எல்லாமே டெல்லி சென்ட்ரிக். ஸோ நான் போய் முருகன் பற்றி எழுதுறேன்னா அவங்க உடனே கணேஷா எழுதுங்களேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ அதான் நான் கண்ணகி பற்றி எழுதுறேன்னு சொன்னேன், கான்ட்ராக்டும் இருந்துச்சு. பட் தே செட் கண்ணகிக்கெலாம் பேன் இண்டியன் அப்பீல் இருக்குமா. ஸோ when I went with கார்த்திகேயா, they said okay lesser of two evils மாதிரி ஏதோ சொல்கிறா, ஓகே சான்ஸ் கொடுத்துருவோம் அப்படின்னு. ஸோ நம்ம ஸ்டோரிஸ், நம்ம தமிழ் ஸ்டோரிஸ், நம்ம தமிழியன்ஸ் தானே ஷேர் பண்ணுவோம். வேர்ல்ட் வைட் இட்ஸ் அப் டு அஸ் டு ஷேர். நம்மளுக்கு கார்த்திகேயா இஸ் முருகன் சாமி வந்து சின்ன வயசுலேருந்து யூ க்ரோ அப் லிஸ்னிங் டு கண்டசஷ்டி கவசம். ஸ்கூல்லலாம் நாங்கள் ஹாரர் ஸ்டோரிஸ் சொல்லுவோம் கேம்ப் ஃபயர் சுற்றி உட்காரப்ப. அண்ட் அதுக்கப்புறம் பயம் வந்துடும். நாங்கள் அவ்வளோ தைரியசாலிலாம் கிடையாது. வில் பி ஸ்கேர்ட் அட் நைட் அண்ட் தென் somebody taught us to say காக்க கனகவேல் காக்க if you're scared. ஸோ ஆல் திஸ் ஒரு சென்டிமெண்டல் வேல்யூ இருக்குல்ல. ஸோ கண்டிப்பாக அண்ட் ஒன் மோர் ஸ்டோரி I'll share. நான் ட்ரெயின் டான்ஸர்ன்னு சொன்னாங்களே, என் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சோலோ பர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் வந்து அரவுண்ட் திஸ் டைம் இந்த புக் எழுதுறதுக்கு முன்னாடி என் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சோலோ பர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் ஒரு ஷண்முகா கௌத்துவம், முருகன் கௌத்துவம். ஸோ அந்த பீஸ் வந்து நான் ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன் என் ஃபோனில். எப்போயுமே அந்த பீஸ் கேட்டுட்ருக்கணும், எப்போ சான்ஸ் கிடைக்குமோ நான் ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ணுவேன். ஸோ இது எங்கள் அத்தை வீட்டில் இருக்கிறப்ப நான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஃப்ளோரில் இருக்கிறப்ப இந்த ட்ராக் ஓடிட்டு இருந்துச்சு. வெளியிலேருந்து எனக்கு அந்த பீகாக், ஐ ஹர்ட் த பீகாக் ஸ்க்ரீச்சிங். If you've heard peacocks, you know they sound horrible. They were screeching and I was thinking, shut up peacock, I'm recording. So I finished the recording and I just stepped out. I looked out as far as the eye could see. Atta veetla, in the garage, in the garden, in the terrace, everywhere, hundreds of peacocks. எனக்கு லிட்ரலி ஐ ஹேட் கூஸ் ஃப்ளஷ். அப்படியே புல்லரிச்சு போய் நிற்கிறோம்ல. ஐம் லைக் வாட், எவ்ரிவேர் அமைதியாக நின்றுட்டு இருந்துச்சுங்க. அவ்வளோ பீகாக்ஸ் அந்த ஃபுல் ட்ராக் முடியவே அப்படியே அமைதியாக they were standing, they were listening. And I was like, what? And then within seconds, they just disappeared from there. So, அப்போ தான் எனக்கு தோணுச்சு, இந்த ஸ்டோரி கார்த்திகேயா நம்ம முருகன் ஸ்டோரி, I want to be the one sharing it on a huge platform. And எனக்கு வந்து புக்கில் அது வந்துச்சு. ஏன் கார்த்திகேயானா, கார்த்திகேயாவுக்கு நிறையா பேர். Shiva's son, he has one name, Agni's sons, Vayu's name. He was born to the 5 elements, all 5 carried him. Okay, though Shiva's son, he was carried by the 5 elements, the Panchabhutas. So he has a name, and the Kartikas were the wives of the sages who nursed him first. And they risked on the society lende naraya censorship, naraya thittu vaangnanga. Ana adhiyum meeri it's an act of love to feed a child. Adanaala enakku adu romba pidichadu. Adanaala dhaan Kartikeya named after the Kartikas. Adanaala dhaan andha per na vachen. Enakku Kartikeya அப்படினு.
I heard that there is something different about your portrayal of Ganesha also.
Yes.
Can you just elaborate on that?
So இது வந்து நான் sometimes See, மைக்குக்கே தாங்கல என்னுடைய ஓவர் அனாலிசிஸ் out here. So I thought if Kartikeya is Shiva's son, born only from Shiva's essence, Ganesha was born only from Parvati's இது நான் ஜெனட்டிக் ஸ்டூடெண்ட், அதுக்கும் ஏதாவது வேல்யூ இருக்கணும்ல. ஸோ the way I see it, my interpretation was that Ganesha was originally a girl, born of the feminine divine. அது ஒரு பயங்கர ஃபேமஸ் ஸ்டோரி. சிவா வந்து ஹஸ்பண்ட் அண்ட் ஒய்ஃப்குள்ளே நடக்கிற ஈகோ கிளாஷில் கணேஷா விக்டிம். சிவா வந்து அவரை டிகாபிட்டேட் பண்ணி அந்த ஹெட்டை எலிஃபென்ட் ஹெட்டாக ரிப்ளேஸ் பண்ணுவாங்கிறது மித்து. ஏன் இன்டர்பிரிட்டேஷன் அப்போ தான் சிவா கேவ் ஹிம் தட் Y chromosome and that's how we know him as Ganesha, the male god. But ஏன் இன்டர்பிரிட்டேஷன் படி the child of Prakriti had to be female, and only a female Shakti da she can stop Shiva in his tracks.
Children, are you listening or not? Such a different take on.
There you'll feel it's not enough. You'll feel there's somebody who's more successful, always a bigger fish in the ocean. Okay, I think for me, I won't describe myself as a success because I also feel like there are so many who started, after me who've done more. Their resume looks bigger than mine. So personally, I will try not to focus so much on the insecurities, on whether I'm successful or not, because then I won't feel like getting up in the morning. I'll sit in bed all day with ice cream and I'll watch Netflix and I won't do anything useful. So I don't look at it like that. I think if you get to do something that you love, it's a luxury. Because how many people can afford to be a writer today? It's not a very economically viable job. Sometimes I don't get paid. Royalty checks are laughable. That's the honest truth. Even if you've won an award, even if your book is named one of the top 5 sellers for the year, you can buy only masala kadala, one meal maybe you can buy a day if you're lucky. Okay, so it's a privilege to do this, honestly. So if you have that privilege, I'm grateful. If I get rewards also, I'm grateful. But if I don't get, that's also fine. And I think every story has its own journey. You never know who's reading. You never know who's influenced. Actually, the best compliment I've ever received was for Shakti, my third book. And Shakti, as I mentioned, there only I have this Ganesha story which became controversial. Lots of people accuse me of this, that, there was hate mail, all that. But one girl from Kerala, she reached out to me and she said when the Kerala floods was happening, she was reading Shakti. She said it gave her strength when she was afraid for her life. Lots of rape victims, abuse victims, they reached out to say that this book made me strong. It's about embracing the Shakti within, whether you're a man or a woman. And when I wrote Mohini, people from the trans community, the LGBTQ community, they said, you know, this book made us feel good. I wish we had this while growing up. So this kind of validation, how do you put a price on it? And yet, this is the reason why I do what I do. I love money, don't get me wrong. Tomorrow if I get a big fat movie deal, if I win an international award, I'll be very happy, yes. I don't want to lie about it. But at the end of the day, the job is its own reward.
I think I read somewhere that you are an Agatha Christie fan and you wanted to write a novel like hers. So is that in the offing? Are we going to read one such detective story?
I don't know, honestly. I've always wanted to write horror and I wanted to write crime. So maybe today I was listening to Uma ma'am and she said she learned swimming itself when she was 49. So I think I want to take that leap and do something different and surprise myself. Who knows, I might become Madhuri Dixit after all, or I might get down to writing that Agatha Christie-like book, Indian version of it, which I always wanted to write.
Give the audience a spoiler. What is your next book? Can you just give us a hint about it?
I don't know. Right now, seriously, I want to sit in bed and eat ice cream and not do any work. I want to sleep, eat ice cream. That's my ambition, but that's not happening because a part of me will be like, do something useful with your time. So I will tell you about my last book because I really don't know what I'm going to write next. I'm not able to make the commitment. My 14th book is very close to my heart because it's a revisionist take on the Silappatikaram, Kannagi's story, and it was so difficult selling it to my Delhi-based publishers. They asked me, will it have pan-Indian appeal? Rajamouli sir made his Bahubali, now everything has to have pan-Indian appeal. So they really had doubts. They said, who wants to read a Tamil epic and all? But this also is, home food, comfort food. This is a subject very close to my heart and I really wanted to share Kannagi and Madhavi's story. And right now I'm just working on making sure that book gets noticed. So that's my idea of doing something useful and hopefully I will get back to researching and writing soon.
Okay, here there is a Neyer Viruppam. A question that comes, the first question from the audience. What are the 3 mythological retellings that are your favorite?
Actually, my favorite means I'll stick to the original. Vedavyasa's Mahabharata is my all-time favorite. And after that, I really like Ramesh Menon's work and I like Kisari Mohan Ganguly's interpretation of the Mahabharata also is fantastic. So Ramesh Menon and Kisari Mohan Ganguly are my favorites.
There's one more question. How do you deal with meat politics? M-E-A-T, okay. Meat politics.
Meat,
M-E-A-T.
M-E-A-T,
meat
okay.
Politics in your retelling.
So this part, I am a carnivore. I am a meat eater and I find it very irritating when people believe that Hinduism endorses vegetarianism. So let me correct some misconceptions here. The Brahmins originally ate meat. I didn't make this up. It's there in Indian mythology. I'm going to share a story from Tamil Nadu. This is from the Periya Puranam about the 63 Nayanmars, the devotees of Shiva, who contributed to the Bhakti movement. So now you have this Nayanmar called Sirutondar. Okay, and in those days when Brahmins came to your house, you have to give them food. Any guest comes, you have to give food. But this Brahmin who came to Sirutondar's house, he asked for mamsam, non-vegetarian food. And Sirutundar was so poor, he didn't have enough for one mouthful of rice even. How will he buy meat? So what he did was, in those days, it was so important to serve your guest, especially a Brahmin. So he called his wife. She said, go fetch our son. And this little boy was chopped up and served to the Brahmin. The Brahmin was Shiva. So Shiva brought the son back to life. Sirutondar's claim to fame. Same thing, Kannappa Nayanar also, he offered meat to Shiva. So it's part of our rites and rituals. But during the Bhakti movement, Jainism, and there was a reform happening. Jainism and Buddhism endorsed vegetarianism. I mentioned that Hinduism used to absorb stuff from other faiths, and the Brahmins probably thought, if I want to get fed, maybe I should opt for vegetarian. It's more affordable. So that was a trend which started with the Bhakti movement. Agastya also ate meat. There's a story with two Rakshasa brothers, Ilvala and Vatapi. So what they used to do was, whenever these Brahmins came asking for Mamsa Munavar, one of the brothers will take the form of a goat. This goat was chopped up, served to the Brahmin, and then Ilvala, the brothers, they come out. So he'll tear his stomach and come out. And Agastya digested this Rakshasa. So there's a history of meat eating, and Ramar was a Kshatriya. He definitely ate meat. How am I saying this? When Kshatriyas were exiled in Ramayana and Mahabharata, they were given two things. One, their bow and arrows, so that they can fend for themselves. The other was a basket, which means they lived off hunting. And they did not live off fruits and nuts and veggies. No, Kshatriyas were warriors, they ate meat. So Lord Rama definitely ate meat.
Audience? Yes?
Since... Oh, she got a mic.
Ma'am, you are talking about Arjuna, and I wanted to know, what is your take on Erawan?
Oh, that's a beautiful story. Ravan is Arjuna's son with Ullupi. For those who don't know, Ullupi was a Naga princess, a snake princess, and she loved Arjuna, and the son born to them was Aravan. In Tamil Nadu, we say Aravan, and there's a very interesting story related to the trans community with Aravan. They say this is a South Indian version, not part of Vedavyasa's Mahabharata, but all the versions are legit. So they say just before the Kurukshetra war, Sahadeva said that a certain sacrifice had to be made to ensure victory, and the person to be sacrificed had to have certain markings. Only Krishna and Aravan had that marking. So Aravan agreed to be sacrificed, okay? But before that, he said he wanted someone to mourn him.
Ma'am, there was one more person who had that marking, that was Abhimanyu. Why did he choose Erawan over Abhimanyu was my question. Because you said...
Yeah. Abhimanyu was definitely the favored son. Abhimanyu had in his body the combined bloodlines of the Yadavas from Krishna's side, because his mother is Subhadra, Krishna's sister. And this side he has the bloodline of the Kurus. So two royal bloodlines. So they decided that Aravan was more expendable.
Can we take it as caste discrimination, ma'am? Because Ullupi is not from...
Yes. Caste discrimination is always a factor. So the thing here was, Aravan was considered lesser than Abhimanyu. That's the sad thing. But the beautiful thing is, Aravan was so brave. He said, okay, you want my life, take it. And he put that condition also. He said he wanted to make sure that he's mourned after he's gone. Basically, to put it very bluntly, he didn't want to die a virgin. So, nobody was willing to let him, to give their daughter in marriage to him, because she'll be widowed the next day. So we have Mohini make an appearance, special appearance, and he's revered by the trans community. So we have, it happens in Kootandavar. He's worshipped here as Kootandavar. And this is a beautiful thing because it proves that, though there is discrimination along caste lines, we make room for everybody in some form or the other. Whether it's trans, lesbian, minorities, the oppressed, we make room for them. We accommodate them if we put our mind to it. Love can prevail over hate.
Hi. How do you choose the language with which you make your character's voice when writing, particularly on mythological heroes and heroines? What's the kind of language that you use, and what makes you choose that language?
I try to avoid ornamental language, formal, stilted language, which is usually the preferred format to express the gravitas of mythology. But I already mentioned that I'm trying to make these characters relatable. I'm not focusing on the divine element, though it is there. I'm focusing on the human aspect of these characters. So my characters will have a certain informal vibe, sort of like the language you'll hear in a stage drama. So you might have the irreverent humor, but the gravitas is also there. That's the idea.
To continue take actually, Amish Tripathi swears, basically makes God swear. And there are so many derogatory words that, lot of retelling youths. What is your take on it?
See, I honestly feel that, different strokes for different folks. Whatever floats your boat, I try not to judge another author's creative choices, which is not entirely true. If I'm writing a book review and all, I'll be very harsh only based on my impressions. But I don't like it when people provoke just to generate a headline. If it comes from a good space, if it feels organic, I have no issues with it, because I feel Indian mythology is like that. There's room for everybody. People's idea of rituals, rites and rituals is so different. Some people worship Shiva and Kali with alcohol and meat. And I'm not going to say, oh, that's not nice, only flowers and milk accepted. No, I'm a carnivore. So I think whatever matters to you, you offer it to the gods, and swear word here or there. Personally, I have no issues, but it depends. If you're only doing it to scandalize people, then I'll find that very tacky. I'll find it a very cheap tactic. So Gaurav had a question.
Really intensive, dialogue, I should say, because we are in a position that either we should trust history or historian. Okay, in this context, I'd just love to know the sources of the claims that you have in your book. I mean, do you do serious archival research, or do you talk with some sense, or just method that you use in your research?
Okay, that's a fabulous, very interesting question, because I'm going to say one thing here which is considered somewhat provocative, but it's true. Now, history has plenty of mythological elements to it, and mythology has plenty of historical elements to it. But good luck finding a historian who will accept that. They will say, no, I have all these resource materials, I have all these sources, these footnotes, these annotations, but whether it's history or mythology or anything, it's like statistics. You can manipulate it to say whatever you want to say. Historians who have an affiliation with the extreme right, they will write a big fat book with hundreds of sources that back up everything they say. The same historian on the left, he'll have 10,000 sources backing the opposite of what this guy has said. So what is true? What is true? Both sides will say what I am saying is the truth. I want to say that nothing is set in stone when it comes to history or mythology. It is all subject not only to interpretation, but political agendas as well. I will go into the past to give an example. Recently, they made a movie with Samantha called Shakuntala. Now in Vedavyasa's Shakuntala, she's a very empowered, feisty woman, a forest dweller. They didn't believe in conventional notions of relations only within a marriage. So Shakuntala didn't feel that having a child out of wedlock makes the child a bastard. She went openly to King Dushyanta. She said, I don't want to marry you and all. My son asked who the father is, that's why I bought him. She's that empowered. But in Kalidasa's, he was commissioned by the Gupta monarch to write the story. And you can't tell the monarch who claims descent from Bharata, you can't tell him he was born on the wrong side of the marital bed. You cannot tell that to your king. Your king will behead you. So he wrote this whole drama about how the gods came and showered flowers to prove that she's pure, that, this is the father of the child. And they had that whole drama with the ring. Dushyant gave her a ring. She lost the ring. He lost his memory. It doesn't work that way, people. Paternity test, DNA, all this is, ancient drama. Today we have the same drama. So you have Vedavyasa's version. Vedavyasa did not answer to any king. He was an independent sage. Kalidasa's Shakuntala has lots of romantic aspects, which is the true version. Some people will like Kalidasa, some will like Vedavyasa. A majority don't care. They're like, who the hell is Shakuntala? Why do I care? So that is the reality of it. Don't believe anything which is there in your textbook, newspaper, whatever. Verify the truth for yourself. Do the research and find out for yourself. I hope that answers your question. Okay. See, when it comes to my work also, I borrow from, I use all kinds of sources. I love doing the research. I use ancient sources as well. There are translations available. And I also use all the counter sources. Like, for example, if I'm writing about Tughlaq, I will write not only what the Muslim authors, historians have written, I will read what his enemies have written also. Every version will be different. I will try to piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle. Try and make sense of it and go with the version that seems most sensible to me based on the information I have.
It's like saying, for every Manu Pillai, there is a Vikram Sampath. Yesterday we were talking about comics, Amar Chitra Katha comics. Not many know, there's going back to partly to add to what he said, that much of the resource material, the go-to sources, not many know that the go-to sources of Anant Pai and his team, when they were producing comics on mythological stories, was the Asiatic Society, Indian Asiatic Society Library. And the woman who is not credited is somebody named Leela D'Souza. It is she who did all the research work for the ACK backstories. From where? From the archives, from two kinds of archives that she found in the Asiatic Society Library in Mumbai. One, colonial archives, that is British written archives, and the other, I'm sorry I'm being provincial and parochial, a Bengali scholar named Ritukanti Chattopadhyay. So the original sources of Amar Chitra Katha stories comes from a library. Partly again, just to get into the politics of also, how this trend of how we are historicizing mythology and mythifying history. There is this interesting thing about the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan libraries. So there were two go-to sources. One was the Asiatic Society Library and the other was the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Library, where incidentally all of historical fiction writers, not just you, but plenty I suppose, are finding new sources material. So, thanks to the creative efforts of you who are bringing stories, retelling, going back to the classics and giving your own take, there is an enormous amount of curiosity and interest that you have generated among historians as well in order to find fresh and new sources. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have a question, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, we have many versions of Mahabharata, like which was written by R.K. Narayan and Chitra Banerjee, and their views about it. And as you have said, you love the one which was written by Ved Vyasa. And I just wanted you to share the views of Panchali as a daughter of King Drupad and the wife of the Pandavas, and how she was tormented by the male-dominated society. Even in this Swayamvara, she was not allowed to choose the one she wished to choose for her life. So I just wanted you to share the views about her, ma'am.
See, Draupadi is a very, very strong character. Now, the point here is lots of people have an issue with the fact that she had 5 husbands. Then and now. It wasn't her choice. That's the most tragic thing about Draupadi. That her choice, her consent wasn't factored in. On the one hand, she chose Arjuna, but Kunti said share. Sometimes mums are ridiculous. Brain freeze moment and Draupadi's life trajectory changed. But Draupadi is a very, very respected character, and it's a lesson for all women. Sometimes you're placed in difficult situations where people shame you for choices you didn't make. Okay? But the thing is, Draupadi, she kind of owned her life choices. She never lowered her head in shame. Even when they accused her of being a slut, in a public forum, they said 5 husbands. She has no virtue. Disrobe her. Karna again. They spoke this vulgarly, but she held her head up high. She said, I am a virtuous woman, okay? And she refused to, give in to shame or anything, and she made her voice heard. The men who hurt her, she went about getting her revenge. She did not look at her husbands to do it for her. So the point here of Draupadi's character is, even women who are placed in difficult situations, they have an inner strength to them. What more does a woman need? Do we need knights in shining armors to come rescue us? No, we can look after ourselves. We are the hero, heroine, villain in our own story. So we are self-sufficient like Draupadi and the other brave women in the epics before her in history, in reality everywhere. We are enough.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, and no offense to men, okay? I think men are cool. They are less complicated than women. Lovely men in my life. I respect them also. So this is not an insult to men.
Your words have painted a lasting impression on our minds. We are truly grateful for your presence and wisdom today. Now I request Dr. L.M. Swarnalatha, Head Department of English, to honor Madam Anuja Chandramouli with a memento and to deliver a vote of thanks.
Sorry for the interruption, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a very pleasure for being here, and I haven't read much about many things like you have done so. But I have a justification that Rama is a vegetarian from the verse of Valmiki Ramayana, which says, O Venerable One, on my father's command, we entered the desolate forest of penance, subsisting on roots and fruits. I shall practice the righteous way of life. And more than that, I shall spend the term of my forest life with faith and holiness and purity of mind, and with the regulated food, and with the ancestors and gods satisfied with offerings of roots, flowers and fruits, and with my 5 senses contented with the mind that discriminates between what ought to be done and what not ought to be done. This is from Valmiki Ramayana. And one more thing I have got from Mahabharata. O King, Kshatriya, Somaka, Vrika, Raivaita, Rantiva, Deva, Vasu, Sujaya and other righteous kings, Kripa, Bharata, Dushyanta, Kuru, Rama, Alaka, Nara, Virupasha, Nimi, the wise Janaka, Purupara, Prithu, Veerasena, Ikshvaku, Shambhu, Shatvega, Haja, Tantu, Sabahu, Harshrapa, Shrupa and Bharata, all these kings and many others never consumed meat. So
No, I'm glad you brought it up, and I really don't want to get into a heated argument. But like I mentioned, for every source, there's a counter source. So some people will say, this is Valmiki's version. Somebody else will say the opposite and say, this is Valmiki's version. And tomorrow, I'm sure, I'm hoping and praying that people say, this is Anuja's version of what is Ganesha's sexuality. And I claimed that it's creative, it's mine. But tomorrow, what if there's an argument that say, no, she likes Vedavyasa. She said she loves him. This is straight from Vedavyasa's mouth. The honest truth is we weren't around then. Even today's session, if you ask one of the students who was awake, what did ma'am say, what did Anuja say, what did sir say, there will be at least 20 different versions. And I'm saying that we live in a world where there's room for everybody's opinion. I'm not saying eating meat is wrong or right, vegetarians, pure, impure, nothing. I'm just saying there's room for everybody's viewpoint. Regarding this thing where some people say it's more morally justifiable to be vegetarian, I'll just quote something from a Dhanush movie, Power Pandi. He says, Konna Pavo, Tinna Pochi. So waste not, want not, as Uma ma'am said. As long as we are not being wasteful, as long as we are respectful of the rights of other species on this planet, anything goes.
Yes, I am also not against non-vegetarian, ma'am. I also have food.
No, I'm just, yeah, I know. So
And
we are not fighting here. It's not a cat
I'm
fight.
getting a clarification whether do you have any other verse like this to say?
See,
for
Valmiki's
Ramayana?
version, if you say the word mamsam comes there also. So those who, regarding this oath he took, some people say mamsam just refers to fleshy vegetables and fruits. Other interpreters will say mamsam is non-vegetarian, period. Kshatriya dharma, as it was called.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
the jury is still out on that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Here I would like to say we can apply the postmodernism theory, reader response theory. So it will be applicable to everyone. I deem it a proud privilege to propose a vote of thanks for this event. I sincerely thank our beloved correspondent, Thiru S.D. Chandrasekhar sir, Madam Principal, and principals and heads of the departments, scholars, and the students of making this event a great success. All good things come to good end. My deep sense of gratitude for planning out the frame of this symposium and pulling the right kind of talent and bringing into the portals of VELLALAR. I thank Dr. Jinnah sir and Dr. Lakshmi Priya for this event. And I thank Dr. Jaydev Raj for taking a great Indian dance form of Bharatanatyam through the generation, as it provides health and sacred joy of anyone who practices it. Thank you for your splendid performance. I owe it my special thanks to Vasamalli, ma'am, who has launched the magazine Vannam, and this tribal writer cum social worker contributes immensely for the upgradation of nature and tribals. Her voice from reverberate in our urban world with thumping sound. Thank you, ma'am. Our special thanks to Dr. Prantik Banerjee for throwing light on the academic entertainment and social commentary value of comics. He has put forth clearly how comics will improve, recall, and the cognitive generation of meaning. Thank you, sir. Our distinct gratitude in words are due to Dr. Jinnah. He is not new to us, but what exceptional about him it is his unparalleled perspectives about the current trends. Food is always the binding fact in humans, and his exploration through cakes and ale has made it so clear that in spite of the cultural variations in the choice of food, man basically remains the same in terms of human values and relationship. Thank you, sir. It is a spectacular that 4 women talents coming from 4 different states have painted the magical canvas with their region-specific, unique portrait of their diversity and the complexity of the society's culture. Dr. Shintu, Dr. Lakshmi Priya, Esther Priyanka, and Joshi have showcased the women's journey through culture that shapes identities, behaviors, and societal development through their open conversation about the cultural sensitivity, beliefs, and practice. Thank you all. Thank you, Umamani ma'am, for that the age is not a number. Your environmental perspectives will go deep into the minds of today's youth and make a remarkable change. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Aradhana, for making the classic Tamil Sangam treatise on the art of living. Tirukural is a comics to present complex ideas in easily understandable way. Thank you. And thank you, Anju Chandramoli, for the fruitful interaction you had with these young students, inspiring them all the ways. Thank you, ma'am. And without the committed participant of the institution, teachers, scholars, and students, this success would not have been achieved. My heartfelt thanks to everyone again. I thank the photographers, electrician, and non-teaching staff for these kind gestures. Before I finish the vote of thanks, I win this vote of thanks with Avaya's quote. நன்றி ஒருவருக்கு செய்தாகால் அந்நன்றி என்று தருங்கோல் என வேண்டா நின்று தளர் வளர்த்தொங்கும் தாளுண்டோ நீரை தலையால் தான் தருதலால். Again, when you water a plant, it will giving back to you. This is the meaning, and I end this vote of thanks with this note. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of gratitude. Participants are requested to kindly fill your feedback form and submit it on the MOC desk immediately. Dear delegates, we are delighted to announce that an exciting folk dance performance is set to entertain you all. This vibrant showcase of culture and tradition will bring forth the rhythmic beats, grateful movements, and rich heritage of Tamil Nadu folk dances.
தமிழருக்கு முந்தி முந்தி விநாயகனே முப்பத்து முக்கோடி தேவர்களே முந்தி முந்தி விநாயகனே முப்பத்து முக்கோடி தேவர்களே வந்து வந்தெம்மை காருமையா வந்து வந்தெம்மை காருமையா வந்தனம் வந்தனம் தந்தோமையா வந்தனம் வந்தனம் தந்தோமையா
நித்தம் கொடுத்தே பாடுறதா?
Hello. Thank you, students, for your wonderful performance. We all enjoyed it. I request everyone to rise up for national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे